Time to simmer. Wherever you guys are tuning in, I say welcome. This is Tuesday morning here in Sydney, Australia. My book, Sports Bet, still doesn't have too many fights opened yet, but I got all the fight cards ready for you guys. We got all the questions. So you guys, whenever you catch this live, if you catch it during the live stream, ask away, and I'll do my best to answer everybody's question. I go live every single day, so if you're new to the channel, I say welcome. If you've been here supporting me, I also say thank you. All I ask is for you to like this video, and let's get these questions popping. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 major cards pinned right now, and we got a couple. Obviously, we got the big card in New York, but there's a couple cards flying under the radar with some fighters you guys will recognize. What's up, GOAT in the house? I appreciate you supporting the channel every single day with your feedback and your input. Guys, I know a lot of us, what's up, DJ? We did well last week. We weren't perfect. I know a lot of us on the channel have high standards for our long money line parlays. We haven't hit one in 2 weeks, but we're still winning. I made all my money last weekend on some method of victory prop bets. I started off on the right track going heavy on that Josh Kelly fight. It's a fight I featured, and I bet for him to get the stoppage. And when I was researching that fight, you could go check receipts. There were British content creators dogging Kelly. Yes, GOAT, that's what I'm talking about. Brandon Glanton is back, guys. Atlanta, Brandon Glanton. We last saw him in the UK. He wasn't victorious, but Glanton is back. They're fighting in Africa. Tabiti is headlining. You might recognize Tabiti. When he stepped up, he hasn't always been perfect, but you know he has a lot. There's some shine on him still. Hitchens is the most confident pick this weekend. Choi, I'm not going to argue with that. I'm just waiting for some prop bets. My video is editing and uploading. My Hironori video with Andy Cruz is uploading. I taped Hironori today. Just can't see how he could upset Andy Cruz. Pablo, yeah, exactly. So what I like with that Andy Cruz, 5-0, I think you got to think Andy Cruz is next, mate. When I think about, what's up, Don Julio? When I think about Andy Cruz, he comes with a few storylines. You know what I'm saying? The major storyline with Cruz is obviously what? The amateur pedigree. That's the first storyline. What's the second storyline? What he did to Keyshawn in the amateurs. What's the third storyline? In my opinion, I think as he prolongs in his pro career, the third storyline might jump to number 1, and that's what he's learning from Bozy Ennis. You know what I mean? Sitting down on his punches. We saw it in his last fight. Training in Philly. Mr. Johnny, thank you for the analysis last week. Did well over the weekend with some of your suggestions. Mike, I appreciate you tuning in and trusting me. Like I said, the money line, the one pick that screwed us on that money line was Joe Hicks Jr. He got outboxed and beaten up by Wendy Toussaint. Hats off to Wendy. But guys, when we put these long parlays together, my advice to you, I never go heavy on them. So the long parlays are kind of more like, we'll say, bragging rights if they hit. Hitchens by decision, Cruz money line is paying $1.76. And GOAT, ain't nothing wrong with that. We'll use the denominations of 10,000. 10,000 gets you 7,600 back. Come on. And I see, I'm high on Richardson Hitchens. A good early week bet. I'm going to dump some money. Go for it. I think I'm going to follow you on that. What's he learning from Bozy? And that's the fast tracking. I think what he's learning from Bozy is not necessarily technically how to punch, but how to drive your weight from the ground and sit on your punches, guys. Because we have to remember Cruz comes from that Cuban background, that traditional defensive-minded, use your movement, circle left, circle right, follow in, follow out, that sort of thing. Bozy Ennis is teaching him on those angles, find an opening, and counter. And then look at his last fight. He punched a lot more in the pocket, throwing his power punches a lot more, and a lot of that comes with trust in your durability and trust in the power punches, especially when you're not used to it. So just watch his last fight. You can see those small minor adjustments. Don Julio, I'm up on Brian Norman Jr. Guys, Norman Jr. fights next week against Sasaki. That was supposed to be that. He's learning not what. Yeah, so I'm going to break down the Brian Norman Jr. fight. We do this here on this channel 1 week at a time. He does have a tough fight in Japan. But the 4 cards, guys, we got the card in New York City, headlined by Richardson, Hitchens, and George. There's a card in Mexico, in Sonora, Mexico, headlined by the ladies. El Gallo is on that card in Mexico. He makes his return. We last saw El Gallo retire, Francisco Estrada. We last saw him against Bam Rodriguez. He retired. He's fighting again. I think there's some money on this Mexico card. Don't sleep on these Mexican cards. It's in Sonora. We'll get there later in the week. We got the Africa card we talked about, headlined by Tabiti. But you also got the return of Brandon Glanton. Glanton is a fun little light heavyweight. And it's headlined by Andrew Tabiti versus Jacob Dixon. That's in Ghana. And then there's also a cheeky Argentina card. And Argentina, guess who's returning in Argentina? Nonito Donaire. He just turned 97 years old, and Donaire is making his return at 97. Obviously, I'm kidding. He's a Hall of Famer. I'm just looking for cheap laughs. Hopefully, Donaire. If we see the Donaire we're expecting to see, I think that's an easy money. He's fighting a guy, Campos. Campos 17-2. We're gonna break that fight down as well. So, guys, the odds haven't been released yet, but when we're looking at opportunities for value and money, we got that. Anati, the guy, what's up, buddy? Live knockout by Diamante. I think so. A lot of people are seeing Andy's 5-0 record with only a handful of knockouts, and they're focusing just on his style. I mean, when I get the knockout prop, I'll let you know. I got 13 team leg parlay payout. Get your money, best out of the 815. Get your money. Nanito's returning. His wife Rachel has been spreading the word. Yeah, we have it on our channel as well. Taya and Nanito, every time Donaire fights, especially this stage, I'm going to tune in. We'll see if he has any left in the tank. It was probably, as we could tell, it was a psychological retirement when he lost to... but these guys, he's done everything. Donaire is definitely getting a little... Yeah. It's tough to walk away, guys. You guys know this. Look at our boy Pac-Man. Manny Pacquiao. He's fighting and getting his Barrios. We already know that. What I like to say about these fighters who retire, especially when they're in their late 30s, 40s, it's always the same thing. I hope they're not coming back because they need money. That's it. Shawalaya. Appreciate you. Where are you tuning in from, Shawalaya? I want to join you on these lives, cover bets, and talk boxing, fan. Best out of the 815. Send me an email. We'll set something up. Cambosos odds are crazy. Yeah, I broke down. I didn't upload my analysis and prediction video of the George versus Richardson. All I'm going to tell you, you guys know I live in Australia, but I'm American. My dad always said the best gambling advice I've ever been given, I'll give to you. You probably heard me say this. New subscriber and a halfer, so keep it up. Love the coverage. Thank you, Sam Martin. Andy Cruz wins. Bet with your wallet, not with your heart. In regards to me betting on George versus Hitchens, obviously I'm a George fan. I tune in. I really respect his father, Jim. When you look at what Jim Cambosos has been able to do, is good money. Yeah, Donito will win. When you think about what Jim Cambosos has been able to do with the career, I just don't think Hitchens has enough power. Yeah, so DJ, I'm looking at some prop bets, some over and under. Will it go the distance? A knockdown? You never know. We've seen George, get stopped in his last handful of fights. I didn't really like what I saw from George against Jake Wiley. Jake Wiley was his opponent here in Australia about 5-6 weeks ago. He won the fight. They're sleeping on George because of the poor performance. Lloyd, they're also sleeping on George because he was never a huge 135er. He's fighting at 140. He took one fight already at 140 against Jake Wiley in Australia. Jake usually fights at 47. He was way bigger than George. George isn't going to be that big for 40. Richardson, Hitchens, and also his most recent look, what George's look like. And we know in those divisions and George's style, these guys rely on reaction, reflexes, speed, and he's in his mid-30s now. He didn't look good against Jake or Maxey. That's what I'm saying. And so to answer your question, it's not my prediction. That's why people aren't high on George with this fight against Hitchens. I think a lot of the fan base down here in Australia are more, rather than focusing on the outcome, they're just more impressed once again with George getting another shot at a world title. When you think about it, guys, in 25 years, when people are, looking back at history, and they're looking at resumes of boxers from this era, they're going to be able to click on George Cambosos Jr. and see that, he beat Teofimo Lopez in America, one of the biggest upsets of that year. He filled out 2 stadiums, one in Sydney, one in Melbourne, against Devin Haney twice. The Marvel Stadium and Kudos Bank Arena. He also filled out the RAC Arena in Perth. And he's also fighting again in New York against Hitchens. That's what I'm talking about with George. Jim Cambosos, his father, has managed his career almost perfectly. I don't see Cam winning at all, but I also don't see Cam getting stopped. Yeah, and, you know, Cambosos, we'll see. I think the narrative going into that fight is going to have to be George pressuring Hitchens. George's career could have gone very differently. But, I mean, I don't think when you look at the money he's made, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people in that Cambosos camp who would say they wanted it to go differently. Because this is a guy who will fight. If you know him personally, I've met him a few times. George will fight you behind my house with nobody watching. So don't get it twisted. This is a guy who has had his chip on his shoulder his whole career because in the amateurs coming up through Australia, he wasn't getting the shine. He didn't go through the certain paths that, you know, the popular fighters, the big promotion companies here who support Aussie fighters. He wasn't getting that support in Australia. He had to go abroad. Think about the performance he put on against Teofimo. We have to remember, what was he doing before the Teofimo fight? He was sparring. He was the sparring partner for Manny Pacquiao. So you take that experience. Not a lot of Aussies will do that. He goes to America, you know, gets asked to spar Pacquiao, spars Pacquiao for a lot of rounds. He's been on record, I think, over 100 rounds, maybe even double that in preparation for Pac's fight at the time. And then he goes on to fight Teofimo and looked amazing. So everything that George has done in his career, he's done it his own way. Like I said, the records will not show a perfect, glossy, unbeaten record. But when you look at a guy who puts his hand up, this is going to be another opportunity in a new division for another world title. You got to just say, dude. And I think guys who have the career like George are helping to push boxing forward. This isn't supposed to be a hot take in terms of guys protecting their O. You know what I'm saying? What we saw with Floyd, what we're seeing with certain fighters, you can name names if you guys want, who will only put their hand up in less than 50-50 fights. How many 50-50 fights have you seen your favorite fighter and who's undefeated? You guys can fill in the blank. What's up, Javi? That's all I'm saying. And I think George is showing kind of a different path. Yeah, Yafai's fighting in 2 weeks, so I'm covering his fight. But Ryan, I appreciate you on the channel. It's tough for me when I cover all the fights. It's tough for me to look too far ahead, but he's on my schedule. I have a whiteboard. You guys can't see it. It's a dry erase board, and I have the calendar, all the fights for this coming month and every month. So right now I do it week by week. We got 4 big fight cards: New York City, Mexico, Argentina, and Africa. So I'm going to be covering a fight from all of those cards on the channel. Right after this live stream, you'll be seeing my breakdown and prediction on the Andy Cruz fight. And then we got George Cambosos versus Hitchens coming. I'm going to do the Tabiti fight. I might be able to get to the Brandon Glanton fight. I'm going to do the Nonito Donaire fight. And also I'm going to do the El Gallo. So I want to break that fight down too. O'Hara Davies is fighting in Africa. There's some decent names from America. They got some decent Americans coming over there. O'Hara Davies, Brandon Glanton, Andrew Tabiti, Daniel Gorsh, and let's see the Estrada card. Juan Francisco Estrada is fighting Kareem Lugo. Lugo's ranked 253. Estrada's still ranked number 4. So, you know, he's still looking for a shot at another opportunity for a world title. Guys, wherever you're tuning into this, Sean, what's up? Could you guys please like this video? Let's get the conversation started. Goat told us his early week parlay. He likes the decision in the Hitchens fight. I think you're leaning Hitchens by decision. And then the let's see that full card though. The Andy Cruz. Now, my issue with the Andy Cruz by decision is Mishiro. We'll see how that fight goes out. I gotta see what the odds are for a knockdown. I gotta see what the odds are for a stoppage. But you have that really exciting prospect, that Indian. You don't see many boxers from India who are getting a lot of publicity internationally boxing. And I'm talking about Nishant Dev. He was an Olympian. I covered his first pro debut about 6 weeks ago. It was a viral knockout. He looks the part. I mean, he does everything well. He's good on the mic. He got hands. Nishant Dev is fighting on that card in New York City. Shakur Stevenson's cousin, who just went pro, had a storied amateur career. People were really high on Zach Wayne Moses. He's on the card. I've actually had Zach Wayne on the channel before, maybe 2 years ago. The value is in Hitchens, knockout 7-12. I'm not mad at it. Matchroom prospect, yeah, he's solid. Also, doesn't end up like saying, or hopefully Moses Aquin, yeah. And then we also have an Aussie heavyweight who was supposed to fight on the undercard of Jai Apataya 2 nights ago that they moved to feature in New York's on the George card. If you guys haven't seen Terramona fight, he's a fun prospect. He's a monster. Mark Jeffers lost. Yeah, Jeffers lost, and there was a tie that screwed a lot of people over this past weekend. Yeah, there was also somebody just messaged me on my on a comment section that said they hit, because in Australia we have to do three-way betting. We have to fight. If you're picking money line bets, you're forced to either go money line one way or the other, and then the draw. That's why some of my odds are going to be different than you guys in America, because what I'm learning is a draw on your parlay doesn't ruin your parlay. A draw on mine ruins it. To take Hitchens or Cruz and knockout. Southern boxing, almost forced. So if you're coming at it like, yeah. Now, what you're going to learn, I don't know if you're new to the channel, I don't think I've seen you here before on the live streams at least, is that there are some professional gamblers on my channel. There's guys who will, they're professional, meaning they don't have a job. They bet on just boxing professionally. And what you're going to learn is, on that comment, Southern Boxing MMA, is that you're saying you're almost forced to take stoppages. That's if you want those odds to get big and you're only going to put a little coin. But where I'm making all my money, you find like $1.81, $1.84. Like I made, like last Friday when Josh fought the kid from Romania, Flavio Bea. Josh Kelly on the money line was $1.04, but I prop bet him to win by stoppage, and that went to $1.84. So 10 grand got me 8,400. So that's a different style of betting. Or Muscles, I know Muscles will throw 50 grand to win 27. You know what I'm saying? So if you're looking at it, there's a couple different ways of looking at it depending on how much bank you have to put on bets. And it's just, you know, if you got $10, $25, $100, yeah, I appreciate you here though. If you got $100, $25, $50, $100, yeah, you know, then my advice, and you know what you're doing, is try to fatten those odds by stoppages. But if you're playing the long game, you know, I know a lot of the boys here will take the month, you know, not week by week, but the fight cards in June, starting last week, and carry the winnings over week by week to kind of build up, have a more patient approach. So find a parlay that pays out maybe 2-1 and go really heavy on it with 4 locks. You know, we did a 4 lock. We usually will always hit our 4 lock, 5 lock, find something 2-1 and go. There's GOAT. As soon as I start watching Johnny, I know it's money line betting is where it's at. GOAT in the house. And you know what, GOAT? Because of you, we're giving each other flowers. I hit on the Josh Kelly stoppage because I never started doing method of victory until I started learning from these boys. I could bet it, but the average, yeah, that's what I'm saying, Southern T, exactly. And I'm not telling the average person to go get a loan out to bet. I'm just talking about there's different ways. Komei and Jin Sasaki are good too, or Arenado Simstreet. Yeah, the Thailander. And this is nothing against betting with the Thais. You know, I've done some of the fitness camps in Bangkok and Phuket. It's not too far from Sydney, Australia. And I've sparred a lot of Muay Thai guys. When in boxing, what I've seen a lot of the Thai boxers, their Muay Thai background, obviously it's their national sport. So it's in their traditional movements to never sit down on their hands. Because in Muay Thai, why? The art of 8 limbs, they have to check kicks. They have to check kicks high. They have to check kicks low. So even when they transition to boxing, they're not big punchers. They don't really sit on their shots. And if you look historically, whenever you had, we'll use Ramon Dekkers for an example. This is a side story of boxing. Ramon Dekkers was a Dutch kickboxer, and he goes over to Thailand and starts winning. He's one of the greatest historically kickboxers of all time, Muay Thai fighters. He goes to Thailand and starts fighting in the Lumpini stadiums, these big stadiums. And Ramon Dekkers was just known for his knockout, brutal, vicious power because the Dutch style is vicious, low leg kicks, and really heavy hands. And same thing with an Aussie named John Wayne Parr. John Wayne Parr goes to Thailand and started knocking everybody out because the way they sit down with a boxing background, you sit and turn on your heels more with your punches. So boxing translating to Muay Thai, real heavy hands. Muay Thai translating to boxing, not a lot of heavy hands. So that was a long way to describe why I really don't bet on Thai fighters boxing. You know what I'm saying? And we just saw that in Japan. We saw that with I think he was Indonesian. He might have been a Thai. I cover a lot of fights here. What's up, Sed? Appreciate you. Yeah, Tyler Blizzard though is from Tasmania. He goes to Thailand for the looks, and he looked great in his last fight 2 nights ago. Yeah, he looked real good, and a lot of people took Rocky Ogden, even though Ogden was a slight dog. Tyler Blizzard, man, his counters were awesome. I'm agreeing with you. I already bet the 2 decisions together, but yeah. It's Southern. Tune in I go live every day, so I'm interested to see, as we get later in the week, what you got. Do you watch BKFC? I'm a nerd for most fighting. I did a documentary landslide on Lethwei, which is bare knuckle, which is Myanmar's national sport from Burma, Burmese boxing. So it's bare knuckle Muay Thai with the headbutt. But I really don't do the Tito Mercado pull out. Oh, God. I think so. Dude, I don't see Mercado on the card. Good point. I was going to cover that fight. I don't know. I'd have to look out. But you're right. He's not showing up on the box rec. I was excited to see Mercado fight. I have to do maybe you guys, could you get on the Google right now and let's find out why Mercado's not fighting? I like to think that maybe his opponent pulled out. Yeah, I don't have enough time to watch the BKFC because what we're seeing a lot is I bet a lot on UFC. I always pull out nah, yeah, right? That's that Planned Parenthood. DJ. Got to, man. Yeah, I forgot about that damn Ricardo card. He was just trying. Yeah, he was going hard at Keyshawn. I'm telling you. Let's see real quick. Tito Mercado. Ernesto Mercado. He just posted. Returns June 14th. I don't know, mate. Someone said he's injured, not confirmed. Yeah, he's not on BoxRec, and the last article was a week ago. How about let's hit his Instagram up because he's super active there. Ernesto Mercado. Yeah, I'm using my laptop, and I don't have my Instagram connected over here. Yeah, so Mercado... Ernesto Mercado, latest news. Boxing's best kept secret. Eddie's real high on him, too. Guys, wherever you are, like this video. We're about 22 minutes in. I'm going to keep this going for a little bit longer. We're trying to find out what's wrong with Ernesto Mercado, Tito, why he's not fighting. He was just online 2 days ago talking trash. We should collab with some content on our channel, too. Mate, email me. So anyone who wants to do a collab, as you guys know, I'm up for it. My email is in my description. It's just my name at iCloud. So if you want to email me, we could set something up. I'm super open. I do these live streams, and if you look at my playlist, I do edited video breakdowns. But I'm always open to collabing. It's my name at iCloud. So JONNYSTOFKO at iCloud.com. So if you're new or you're unaware, I've been in boxing. I started boxing as a 7-year-old. I'm 43 now. I also write books. I have 2 books that are out. They're both published. One was published by a publishing company in New York, and one was published down here, my last book. But I started reporting on MMA early days. So I've been watching the UFC since November 11th, 1993. The UFC won. I was 11. Mercado got injured. That's unfortunate. Yeah, how good is Hironori? I mean, Hironori's going to get beat. You know, that's all I'm going to say. Wait, I'm uploading my breakdown analysis. Andy Cruz is that guy. TBV says he's injured. Yeah, who's TBV? A lot of the guys, if you're new to the channel, read in the comments. Pretty much everyone who subs to the channel, they're boxing heads. How do you feel about Mercado's approach when he just calls out? Yeah, GOAT, I think it cheapens the boxing voice. I think when Mercado does that, it cheapens his skill for the people who don't know him. But in this day and age, GOAT, you kind of have to. You know what I'm saying? You kind of have to. I like the odds on Shiraz by decision. Ryan Hall, I'm going to get to that in a second. You kind of have to when Tito, I know Eddie supports Mercado, but Mercado wants those big fights. He wants to be tested. That's what I like about Mercado, his hunger. He wants to be tested. He's not dodging anything. But when you look at, sent the email, excellent. I'll check it after this, brother. To the Shiraz fight against Berlanga, I don't know, man. I just think people who are siding with Shiraz, I understand why. There's a lot to like about him on paper. When you watch him in his last fight at 160 against Adames, He looked good early, and then he faded and had no plan B, C, or D. And Carlos Adames beat him up. I mean, no offense. I know it was a draw. I was just fortunate they didn't rob Adames. At least he left with his belt. And then we see Shiraz at 168 for the first time against Berlanga. Guys, Edgar Berlanga's hand speed. Edgar Berlanga's hand speed at 168 and his power. And we know where he likes to fight. Berlanga likes to fight in that pocket. Shiraz keeps that chin high. I don't know, man. He also said Adames hits way harder than Berlanga, which is interesting. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think Berlanga's a naturally bigger dude than Adames. And when people say one guy hits harder than the other guy, it's really tough to tell. I don't know how much of that is posturing, but right now I like Berlanga. Lionel Thompson is a goof. Tito Mercado's uncle is fighting on the other DAZN card too. The card in Ghana, gold member? Or, because we got 4 big cards. Like I said, we got Argentina, we got Mexico, we got Ghana, we got New York. I got Berlanga for that fight too. Yeah. No, the Kurt Scope. Oh, see, I don't even have that right now. You guys get, so there's these certain, I don't want to call them obscure fight cards in America, but sometimes we don't even get knowledge on it until the day before. And is that one of those OTX fight cards with Kurt Scobie? Okay. Mercado's fighting. There you go. Moneyline Friday. Okay, guys, we need Shiraz to win that fight. Berlanga is insufferable. Yeah, I don't know, man, Ryan Hong. I understand why you say that, but I'm actually a Berlanga fan. I remember watching Edgar go from amateurs to pro. I remember Edgar's first 16 fights. I remember Edgar being 16-0 with 16 first-round knockouts. I don't know. I mean, I don't attach myself, though, to personality types. Watch my channel long enough. I don't cheer for fighters to win or lose. I'm breaking the sport down. But because Edgar is fighting a guy and I'm breaking that fight down, even though it's in a few weeks, there's a lot to like about Edgar. And I think there's a lot of money on the table in that Berlanga fight because I don't expect the odds to be too crazy. So I'm waiting for those odds to release. Yeah, we don't get those OTX cards, guys. I need to sit down and look. I would assume Galal, but need to be more into it. Yeah, he's fighting in 2 weeks. I do. Yeah, Sam G. Same. Guys, with so much boxing, and if you're, making money off of it and profiting off of it, which we do here, you got to go week to week. Shiraz has more twos, Berlanga too big and strong. Yeah, like I said, Shiraz a lot to like on paper, and I'm not saying, he's a great fighter. Have you talked about Keyshawn's story? Yeah, Sam, talked about Keyshawn. So because Sam, I do lives every day. Whenever news breaks, we're usually talking about it that day. So great question, but it seems like we talked about Keyshawn like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, we brought him up. If you want to ask a question, go ahead. What's good? What's up, King Ty in the house? Guys, wherever you're tuning in, like this video. Let me know if you guys followed any picks last week, won money. We know we lost a few. Has Keyshawn made a statement yet, or is he still hunkered down eating popcorn? I know that video of him eating popcorn, he frustrates me. We watch all of his fights. I like Cruz, Hitchinson, and Norman Jr. Moneyline. Said, you got that patience. Said Mr. Walcott waits week to week because we know Norman Jr. fights the following week. Maybe 5 days later. I think that's a Friday night card in Japan. Sasaki's a big puncher. I like what Brian Norman Jr. added to his tool belt. I like what he looked like in his last fight. His father follows the page. So be careful, guys. If you bet on Sasaki, Brian Norman Sr. will come for you in the comment section. I cashed the Worley knockout and Simpson does not go. Great pick there. I took a knockdown prop, Daniel, so I won the Worley fight too. Are you watching the Leonardo Mosque, Evan Garcia? This gold member. I don't have that card. Right now, I don't even have that card. I'm only seeing 4 fight cards. Yeah, okay. Brian Norman Sr. You guys, you know who else came at me yesterday? If you go to my so if you're on my channel, and you look at videos, shorts, live streams, go to the shorts and go to the short I did about Nahir Albright talking about the Keyshawn incident, and then look in the comment section. Bernie the Boxer, he's what's up, PJ? Bernie the Boxer is Terrence Crawford's hype man. He's B&B Boxing's hype man. He tries to be Bundini Brown. If you guys know your old school boxing, I think his name was Bundini Brown, was Muhammad Ali. Like, the most famous hype man of all time is Bundini Brown. You know, if you watch those old school Muhammad Ali training videos and you hear the guy in the background, "You're the greatest!" Like, he must be the greatest. That's Bundini. Bernie the boxer tries to be him, and he was coming at me in my comment section. So I guess he just expects boxing channels to be one-sided. But, you know, watch my channel. I do it straight down the middle. If something happens in boxing, I'm not going to take sides. So he was a bit salty that I was telling the story from Nahir Albright, and I just gave him a kiss. He was like, "What are you trying to prove?" He was like, "Is this a clickbait? Is this a clickbait?" And I was like, "Of course it is, sweetie." I blew him a kiss. He hasn't responded yet. Yeah, I love back and forths too. So like I said, the longer you come on my channel, you know, I'm not a couch potato. I'm a lifelong athlete. I'm not the type of dude to just sit back. If I have a point I'm proving, I stand on it, and I come at it from a neutral perspective. Like I said, you could go all the way back to Bud versus EJ. EJ was my favorite fighter in that era, but in my breakdown, I chose Bud Crawford to win, and I bet heavy on Bud by stoppage, and I got all this hate. And it's the same thing with, you know, the Rolly Romero-Ryan Garcia fight in my breakdown. You know, in my breakdown, I told you I was cheering for Rolly. Rolly's one of my favorite fighters to watch, but I put money on Ryan. As long as you speak facts, nothing to worry about. Yes, that's my whole. I think that's my point of difference, guys. Because you guys send me a lot of clips. Yeah, Zorro, of course, we're taking bets for this weekend. This is what we do. So. If you're new to the channel, I do my breakdown analysis, then I do lives. Davis Boys Gangsters. I like how Kelvin handled it though. Man, back and forth, killing me. Johnny, I think you're the most unbiased. Gold member, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, except for yeah, but I cover Bud because I respect the progress, man, and we can't remember how he got iced out for some years. You know, I think that guy, and I'm a hopeless romantic in terms of like other factors, how one carries themselves, you know, how you know the training component. There's a couple other factors. It's not just how Bud boxes. I like look at, you know, fighters who kind of live that life, that samurai life. I kind of like. Kelvin is the oldest. Yeah, Kelvin came and handled it like an older brother. Must be a Spence fan who wins. Dude, that EJ versus Bud fight had the whole world divided. Do you remember? And you early leans Farmer, Ryan. We talked about that fight yesterday. I think Tevin Farmer, man. I think Tevin Farmer gave Zepeda fits. I stopped commenting about. Come on, gold member, don't. I don't ever want you to censor yourself. I have Jai Apataya, Junto 1. Yep, Richardson, Scotney. Damn, you went with the girl Alicia Bumgarner. That's a long parlay. Good respect, good patience on that. I know a lot of my friends will do parlays and branch them out over the weeks. I tend not to do that. Back to the Farmer Schofield fight we talked about. I want to highlight that point. I think Tevin Farmer handled William Zepeda really well. I think Tevin Farmer is a couple decisions away from being talked about a lot. And I think Tevin Farmer is going to be way too much for Floyd Schofield. I'm not sold yet on Floyd in terms of what have I seen, the body of work, what he could do against Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer, guys, yeah, Zorro, same. Tevin Farmer, guys, is world class, mate. Bud should have been so much more popular. It's crazy the fights like Crawford. Yeah. And also what Bud would travel internationally. He would go into people's homes and take their belts from them. He did it multiple times, multiple divisions. You know what I mean? Was Farmer hurt in the second Zepeda fight? You think Tevin Farmer going to win? I'm siding with Tevin Farmer. Yeah, 1,200. Good luck on that, best out. Has made me so. Yeah, same. Farmer should be exactly, but don't count the youth of Floyd. Yeah, Floyd's energy. Like that's not a lock yet, guys. I'm not telling you, but I'm leaning. Believe it or not all Bud haters are Spencer lovers. I did root for Spence. Yeah, so I actually became a Madrimon fan after the Bud fight, and then I kind of went against my grain because at the time, you know, if I have to tell you, I'm a big Virgil fan. And then but we have to admit, guys, you lose something in a fight, right? Even if you win the fight, if you take certain shots, Madrimov wasn't the same guy who fought Madrimov who fought Bud. To me, he wasn't the same guy who fought Virgil, especially with his movement patterns and his energy that he was doing. The type of feints he was throwing Bud Crawford, all these feints, and in the breakdown after what I said, and that video's tagged on my channel. I just wish Madrimov would have threw more. He was feinting, showing a lot of looks, level changing. but a lot of it was just, not doing anything. That fight against Virgil, he didn't have the same movement, and maybe it was stylistically. What's up, Muscle Brown, checking in? Congrats on your wins this past weekend. Cashed on both. Yeah. And Virgil's manager, if you follow him, I think Promoter 259. What's up, Patience? Virgil's manager, and I put it on our page, tweeted last night that fight news is coming because we're impatient. I want to see Virgil fight Murtazayev. That's it. I want to see Virgil fight Bakram and see what time it is. That's what I'm talking about. I think Murtazayev is that dude that you just see what time it is. Tim tried to see what time it really was. Tim found out it wasn't his time. And Bakram, when Bakram fights in non-Ramadan time periods, because the fight before Tim, when we broke him down, I highlighted, I was like, that Bakram Murtazayev was Ramadan. He was fasting. But the Bakram versus Tim Tszyu was not Ramadan. That's the fight, exactly. So we have to take these things into consideration. And this Virgil at 54 is prime Virgil. I got paid off Giant Asian. Yeah. Bakram been quiet. Well, no one's promoting him, mate. This Virgil, due to his style, guys, even though Virgil's 26, I think, this is Virgil in his prime. We always talk about fighters getting, physically hitting their prime in their late 20s. But because Virgil takes all those shots, we want to see him active. I want to see Virgil fight, more than twice a year. Zayas stopped a guy that went the distance. Xander Zayas is a great fighter. He's fighting Chinito. Chinito went in and upset the odds and beat Charles Conwell. And who would have thought? Chinito propels himself to a fight with Xander Zayas. Majimov came close. Yeah, it was a very close fight. 7-5 maybe. Some guys scored at 8-4. I definitely didn't have it a robbery. I had Bud winning. But, before that fight, you look at the knockout streak Bud was on. And, people were expecting a certain performance. He boxed well enough to become a champion in a fourth weight division. You know what I'm saying? 35, 40, 47, and 54 against a young guy. Great amateur. I'm hearing Erickson Lubin versus Bakram. Mate, Erickson Lubin, we just watched him against Ardreau Holmes. A guy, Erickson Lubin is only 29. Erickson Lubin, I thought, doesn't it seem like Lubin's 45 years old? Dude, talk about Erickson Lubin, man. Do you remember when he was 21, coming from the amateurs, that energy Erickson Lubin had from the press, the props? And I just feel that, mismanaged of his career. He was rushed into that Charlo fight. How did you score? I thought Adames won that fight. Come on, guys. Shiraz, the first 4 rounds could have been 2-2. First 5 rounds, maybe 3-2. From that 5th round onwards, Adames started sitting on his shots, added the pressure, added more volume, and won that fight. Yeah, we talked about Zach Wynn Moses. That's Shakur's cousin, just, out of the amateurs into the pros. A nice little boxer. We'll see if we get odds on that. But, yeah, Adames won that fight. Yeah, a draw was a gift, Sam, and I'm glad they didn't rob Carlos. Let's talk about the fight this Saturday. Y'all jumping all over the place. I know. Well, it's because I'm trying to keep up with everybody. Which fight, PJ? Well, PJ, you're the one who tuned in. Yeah, he got his head taken off by Charlo. He was young, too. Erickson Lubin, he just beat Ardreau Holmes. I don't know if that's a good matchup, though. For fans, Lubin versus Murtazayev? Hell yeah. For Lubin? I don't know, man. I like Lubin, though, man. He puts that head down and throws that fucking overhand. Yeah, so the book I use is Sportsbet. Who you picking? Cruz? I'm picking Andy Cruz, PJ. That video will be uploaded in a few. We're approaching 39 minutes on this live stream. I'm going to keep it on for a little longer. Lubin will get stopped. Yeah, stylistically, Zorro, that's what I mean. You've barely beat Holmes. I mean, he got the stoppage, but it was close. And Holmes is a tricky guy, Detroit guy, tough, long. He poses, but maybe Lubin is prepping for, maybe somebody told him he was, and Bakram's long. I think Bakram's 6'1", and Bakram fights, Bakram's an animal. Like watching the Zoo fight, you guys could rewatch it, to watch the game plans against each other, one versus the other, and see how Bakram didn't back down. Hit me up this week, I will. Muscle, oh yeah, for sure, Muscle. Think about Muscle, we'll do it later in the week. It's super tall. So to think about Lubin fighting Ardreau Holmes, I wonder if somebody was in his camp or he knows that he's going to either fight, like you said, Bakram or the winner of Zoo versus Fundora, because I don't know if it was getting a lot of press, but Lubin was supposed to fly down here to Sydney to fight Zoo. We were told the contracts were signed. This was before Tim fought Fundora, and we were told Lubin was coming down here, and it never happened. And so I'm wondering if Lubin is waiting on that winner of Fundora versus. Because think about how many title eliminators Erickson Lubin has been in. Have we talked about that? Is anybody talking about it? It's insane. Look at his resume and do your own research. The amount of title eliminators that Lubin has been in is wild. Let me join in with you, Muscle Brown. I'll ask him, and then I'll connect with you. We'll see if you know him, see what he wants to do. Muscle Brown, he's a professional bettor, bets only on boxing, teaches me a lot about where to go with some of my prop bets. And 4 weeks ago, I wasn't a guy who would have ever taken a knockdown stoppage prop, but I did, and I won money on Josh Kelly. One piece of advice, the odds won't be too good. I picked him by Zoo by knockout. Lubin loses to real contenders all day. Yeah, that's what so far, right? And that's been the narrative. He stepped up. It's hard to forget about the Charlo. I just don't think he was ready for Charlo. How old was Erickson? 22 when he fought Charlo? Bachram is with main event, so that's why he's getting iced out. And his style. I mean, think about your risk versus reward. I mean, other than fighting for the belt. This is why in a different era, it would have been different. But there's a lot of risk versus reward for any guys, especially if they want to be champions, if their camp knows that they have a bit holes in their game. Maybe they're not developed yet. All right, we'll give you Bachram Murtazilov. This is why you got to tip your hat to Zoo, though. And you look at Zoo's game plan, back to my point a couple minutes ago, Zoo thought that he was going to walk down... Zoo thought he was going to walk down Bachram Murtazilov with that head on the midline, lead foot right in front, not moving left or right, staying right on the puncher's path, and fighting Bachram in a phone booth. And in the very first exchange, he was like, well, I don't have a plan B, C, or D. I don't have any adjustments to make, so let's just ride this train and see where it goes. And then round one ends. And then you hear what his team told him in between rounds 1 and 2. No advice. No, Tim, set the jab, fight him at range, fight him at distance, maybe set your jab up, circle away from that power side. You see how he's setting you up with his back? Circle away. No, nothing. No, just same exact thing. Same exact thing. And when I broke that fight down, I was like, Bachram, we know. Watch Murtazilov. Murtazilov is like a blender. So let's say we're making pina coladas, and you have that blender blending with the blades, and you're putting ice in the blender, and it's chopping up. That was Murtazilov's style, and Tim Zoo was like, F it, fuck it, and just drops him in the blender. Zoo's stock dropped after that fight. I wasn't mad about the toughness, wasn't mad about the confidence. I was shocked about the lack of plan B, C, or D. Guys, we know at the high level, you have to have a plan B, C. Yeah, Zorro, that's what I mean. Yeah, kind of is, kind of thing. Yeah, true. And we always say on the channel, it works until it doesn't. Don't let that get to you. He can get hit, but I think Hitchens looks better than Cameron. Yeah. I'm leaning on, even though I live in Sydney, and, I know George, Jim Cambosos, his dad. I have so much respect for Jim. Bet with your wallet, not with your heart. I think Perro can beat Cambosos right now. If Zoo loses again, I don't like speaking in absolutes. Will it be over for their career? Will he have to climb back up the ladder? I mean, he's close to 30 now. We'll see. It's a tough fight. I'm not as confident in Tim as I was before the first Seb fight, which is an odd thing, right? Before that first fight, remember the aura? I was 4th row to the Tony Harrison fight in Sydney. It was in an arena. We call it Kudos Bank Arena. The same arena that Taylor Swift, when she comes down here and shuts the whole town down, that arena. We're in the 4th row, and Sam Goodman was on that card, and the energy was insane. And the dudes I went with, I was like, this kid is going to be a superstar internationally. And then he goes to fight Fundora, and Tim's brother, come on, man. And I'm a huge fan of Nikita. He's not better than Tim. Nikita will tell you he's not better than Tim. Nikita's fun to watch. Nikita has one game plan. Let me hit you with my backhand. Let me take 48 shots to land one, and let's see who's tougher. That's a good, fun domestic level fighter, but at the world level, Yeah, come on, man. and I love watching Nikita fight, but you got to know the levels. Don't think Hitchens has the power. I can see George. George has the fight IQ to survive. Hitchens is yeah. Michael Zarafa coming off a big knockout win. Nikita had surgery last September or October on his hand. And we know what happens with hand surgeries. They either become redundant or they heal. We'll see. If he loses, I could see him getting maybe a Boots fight. Boots, GOAT. That is the guy. Jaron Ennis at 154. Are they about to announce Ennis versus Ortiz? Yeah, well, Good and Joint be coming out here with some hot takes. You guys said it last live stream. It made me laugh. Somebody was like, damn, these fools came out of nowhere with hot takes. What fight is talking about next on Saturday card? What's up? Andy Cruz, the Andy Cruz fight, the Richardson Hitchens fight, the card in Africa, Tabiti, El Gallo's fighting. Yeah, Boots versus Ortiz. I'm hoping this Virgil Ortiz announcement is Ennis versus Ortiz. That's just me. We got Brandon Glanton is fighting this weekend. Who's winning? Hitchens. I got Richardson beating George. His brother is actually better. Gold. What is your evidence that his brother's better? We are a channel here of reasoning. You can't just say one's better. What if they announce Teo versus Ortiz? Teo's a little dude. Guys, Teofimo Lopez is a small guy. He's real tiny. Like, he might, when we last saw him against ABJ at 140, he looks ripped. His body composition, but when you see him, he's small frame. Teofimo fighting at 154, you're out of, no way. Maybe in 5 years as he matures, he's what, 26, 27? Maybe he gets bigger, but he's not, his height and his reach, he doesn't have the physicality for, I was shocked that they want him to fight Boots at 47. I mean, what are they thinking? They're going to catch a weight drain Boots? Let's talk about Saturday fights. PJ, we are almost an hour in, PJ, and we covered all that stuff. But you asked me a specific question, PJ. We can't build the parlay yet because the odds aren't out yet in Australia. Hitchens won't need a single shot power. I think damage will accumulate. Thank you for shutting me up. Go over. I feel like Teo's a lot of CT the way he talks. Even a lot of people were jumping on the Teo bandwagon to fight Boots. Guys, I don't see it. Boots is a nightmare. Athletically, when you talk about that, their athleticism, there's an argument for both sides. They're both really athletic. All right, where do we go from there? Power? Look at Boots' knockout to win ratio at 47. Physicality? Boots is way bigger. Switching stances, angles. I think that's I don't know. I think that was just talk. Teo versus Boots. That's insane to me. 100%. And it's not close. I don't know if it's wild to me. People still aren't sold on Boots. Boots is that dude, mate. I commented on Keith Thurman. Let's stay on topic. PJ wants to come on the live and control the narrative. Meech, I believe Boots too, but yes. So I'm hoping we see Boots next at 54 and even further, and let Norman Jr. take over 47, I guess. But I was at Florida Going Gloves and Teo sat in front of me. He wouldn't shut up about Boots' flaws and what someone can do to beat him. We could do that with every fighter, guys. What he just said about being at the Golden Gloves and hearing Teo talk about Boots' flaws, we could do that about every fighter. PJ, the money lines aren't out yet. I have Hitchens winning, and I have Andy Cruz winning. I wouldn't be sure Teo could beat Stanionis, and Boots walked him down and beat that man up. Teo is too small, so Boots not going undisputed. In this day and age, Gold member, what would have to happen? He'd have to fight BNJ. He'd have to fight the winner of Norman Jr. against Sasaki, and he'd have to fight the winner of Barrios versus Pac-Man. Am I missing somebody? The belts are held at 47. Barrios, Brian Norman Jr., Jaron Ennis. Is there one I'm missing? I know there's 4. Is one vacant? I don't have the stats up in front, but that's just off the top of my head. Who am I missing? Boots can adapt to any style. It's going to be hard beating him. And Boots is young. Guys, Jaron Ennis, what did he just turn 27? Looked too drained at 47 in his last 2 fights. He did not look too drained in his last fight. Boots beat up Stanionis, and some of you guys picked Stanionis to win. We're out here holding receipts. Some of you boys, read the comments. You guys came at me when I said Boots beats that Lithuanian man and beats him up. No way. He's never fought a puncher like Stanionis. He's never fought a credentialed fighter like Stanionis. I go, shit. Jaron Ennis has fought only who they put in front of him. And you guys talked about Karen Chukachin not being that good. You guys talked about even David Avenetian. I mean, don't get it twisted. Maybe fringe world level, but David Avenetian can box. And Boots does not have a strong resume. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you got to look at the other side. How many people said no to fight him through coming up? How many people were offered a Boots fight? They're like, I'm good. I'm real good. Because, so hats off to the guys who but think about the guys who chose to fight him. They're foreigners. They're not Americans. They're not people near Boots. Guys coming from Lithuania, guys coming from Russia, getting that American feature. Ennis is flat-footed. He has flaws. He could punch. Virgil eats him. Two of my favorite fighters in the sport, good. Virgil and Boots, two of my favorite fighters in the sport. I would love if that fight gets signed. They're both entering their physical prime. I think Virgil, due to his style, is more in his prime just because it's tough to see Virgil being that durable at 30, still fighting like that. We love it. We love how Virgil fights, but he's only 26, I think 27. He takes a lot of damage. We see what happens to fighters who take a lot of damage, especially, Jose Ramirez is not that old. You know what I'm saying? Jose Ramirez 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when he was in his mid-20s, was a different guy. That man who stopped Tim will stop Virgil. Bakram Murtazayev. Virgil Boots fight at 54, even at 60, if they marinate it. I ain't mad at that. I figured out who Boots is fighting. Raleigh. Really? I ain't mad at it, but Raleigh. No. Seri. Yeah, because Seri needs a better... Seri, let's get to Raleigh. What do you guys think of boxers parading around as world champions with regular belts? I think because Raleigh is calling himself a world champion, we then have to deal with casuals not understanding that a WBA regular belt is not a world title. I'm sorry, it's not. Raleigh's doing photo shoots, calling himself on his and I'm a big fan of Raleigh Ramirez. Raleigh Romero. Raleigh, he's more offensive than defensive. Yeah, Ennis would he would. He would. We did say the same thing about Ryan though. We did talk about Garcia being able to handle Raleigh. I think Boots is a different animal. Raleigh tries to tell people, GOAT. That's what I'm talking about. Who you got, Norman? I'm a big Norman fan. Right now, I'm sided with Norman. I haven't done the breakdown yet. We got that. We got 2 weeks, PJ. Raleigh preaching about Jesus is. I love Raleighs. I'm a huge fan, guys. You know that. I told you I was cheering for him against Ryan, but I bet money on Ryan. I was like, I hope Raleigh wins, but I don't see his path to victory against Ryan, and I was wrong. I think a lot of us were wrong, man. That New York City card still has a bad taste in my mouth. Turkey Al-Sheikh not allowing fans to watch that fight. There's a lot of no one's really talking about Turkey right now. There's a lot of little things about that he's done recently that doesn't sit well with me. Brian Norman. I think Norman Jr. beats Sasaki, but that's not my pick yet. I live bet the distance on that fight. Yeah, we know how. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Guys, we're approaching almost an hour. It's almost 7:30. I got to get 2 uploads for you, so I got to run. Stay tuned to the channel. Like this video. 63 people on. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I got to check some emails, so I know some of you guys want to do a live stream with me. I'm open for that. If you guys can promise me who want to come on the live stream that we keep it copacetic, we keep it educational, and you know what you're talking about, because I put a lot of trust and faith in you. When I had Muscles on the first time, I didn't know him. I put a lot of trust and faith in him, and Muscles is a beast. GOAT. I'm going to go live again today. Yeah. Give me 3.5 hours. I'm going to go live again today. I'm going to get this upload for you, and we'll speak soon. I'll put a notice in the post section. You boys are great. Let's get after it. We got money to make. Let's do it.